Hey everybody, this is Gabe LLanas, and if I hated you, you would know. Alright, hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of If I Hated You, You Would Know. I don't know, I guess I should think about if you're the first time viewer. So this show is just me effectively making the video version of a zine. And I'll probably bring this up every 5 episodes or so just for people. But if you're unfamiliar with the zine, it's basically just a homemade magazine where you write about and talk about whatever you want to write and talk about. My cat might make a special appearance. Shoo, 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 shoo. You're so cute, but you will step on the pause button like last time. Anyway, with that in mind, there's never really a set agenda for the show. The style of the show may change. I'll talk about that a little bit. Please don't knock over my camera with your tail. You're so pretty. Here, come on. Oh my God. These things stay in these moments of frustration and just normal because so here's basically what happened. I watch a ton of YouTube. I really like YouTube. I find a lot of the content on YouTube significantly more engaging than what's on television. Sometime I might do a top 10, these are just I'm a dork and these are my favorite YouTubers. That might happen at some point just because there's things that I like and things I don't. But anyway, totally besides the point. But after watching a lot of YouTube, I kind of got into this mindset, where, you have to have a niche, you have to do this, you have to do that. And in the past, I had done that with a channel that it was in the same spot called Dark and Weird. And some of that content is still up because I'm proud of it. Not as proud of it as I am the stuff that I'm doing now, but still proud. But as I kept watching more YouTube, I realized that's not who I am. And as I was making it, I was this is not really how my thought processes work. Sometimes they are. Sometimes I'm really good for making organized, 45-minute long video on a single subject. But most of the time my brain is just a jumbled mess of ideas and thoughts. I guess really the only overarching theme of this is that we're in this together. Right? So no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, no matter who you are as a person, with very, very few exceptions, not a big fan of Nazis, legitimate, I got the swastika tattoo, I love Adolf Hitler, I hate the Jews and blacks, I dislike Nazis, and I don't think I could have a good conversation with most of them because a lot of the time that is an opinion formulated out of ignorance, which is something that I really, really struggle with. Not because I feel superior, but because it's very difficult to work with people that are just operating on a wavelength that is unaccepting of information, right? And I think a lot of times that's where ignorance comes from, is that you've just been taught. Well, I'll get to that. Let me finish with the zine thing first, and then I'll talk about all the rest that I wanted to say today. So anyway, with the zine, it's going to be full of my opinions. It's going to be full of mistakes sometimes. I highly encourage you, if you hear me say something that's incorrect or factually incorrect, not your I don't mind if you want to share your opinion. That's totally fine too. Expect me to respond to opinions with opinions in what is formally called a discussion. Right. And as long as we're polite with each other, I'm fine with that. But if I make a factual error, please correct me. And I don't mean correct me, say you're stupid, that's wrong. I mean show me where I was wrong, because I do appreciate that a ton. Because I will make mistakes. People make mistakes. That's human life. I guess, second little thing, I switched out one mic for another. Hopefully it sounds a little better because in the long run, this show is a lot more about what I'm saying and what's the sounds than it is the visuals. Cause I'll get to, I'm making a long form video more like my old ones for next week's episode, but even then it'll be a lot more about what I'm saying than what's happening on screen. So, to the first topic for the day. You know what? Let's make that a break. I'll be right back. I don't make those breaks for like ads or anything. Like, it's just so that I can put like chapters so that you can, like, especially like with the interviews, if you're just here for like the interview, you can just like go right to it. Like, if you're just here to like, you know, a book or whatever, you can just go to it. So that's why they're there. Like, this channel will probably never be monetized, like, if I'm real, because it has like a crazy, so there's flags in the background. In my room where I used to record, there's an Iron Front flag, and in this one, there's an anti-fascist action flag. And so as a consequence, I am listed on YouTube as supporting a violent extremist group. So I think that's why that's happened. It's just a tag that's on my earn tab, right? But it doesn't actually say what caused it, or if I said, you know, I did this, and this is, I hadn't looked at my YouTube for like months and months and months, and this was just sitting on there when I came back to it. So it's definitely, it could be from something forever ago. Anyway, that's totally besides the point. So first thing I want to talk about is teams, right? So, coming up in the episode, I'm going to be talking about three things today. I'm going to be talking about teams. I'm going to be talking about video game Spider-Man 2, and I'm going to be doing an interview with my wife, Mel LLanas, that's largely about roller derby. Roller derby's been a big part of both of our lives for quite a while, but a much bigger part of Mel's life than mine. And look, I love my wife. I love talking to her. She is a very fun human being. Like, I think I would have a really hard time expressing how much she is my friend and like kind of my partner in crime, as it were, more than even just like a spouse. Like, it's the kind of relationship that I envied when I was younger. And I'm really glad that I had the mental and emotional maturity to like get through the really, really tough parts at the very, very beginning to like have a legitimate, like really good relationship. So I don't know. I think that's a humble brag, but whatever. I don't give a fuck. I'm proud of the relationship I have with my wife, and I fucking love the shit out of her because she is pretty dope. And I probably have misgendered her that entire time, which is a problem that I have because Mel prefers they pronouns, and I will try to do that from now on. I had a conversation with my friend Doyle about old dogs, new tricks, and always doing our best to get pronouns right. Because I fuck that up constantly, even with my own child. And the reality is I was taught to talk a certain way, and it's really difficult to change. And I'm genuinely like doing my best day to day. You know, that's all there is to it. Anyway, that's totally besides the point. I like to think that I'm trying to evolve as a human being, even as I continue to get older, so that in the hopes that I don't fall into the same traps that elderly people have fallen into in my life in generations past, where you're just like so set in your ways, so like indifferent to like anything new and interesting that you just shut off your brain to the rest of the world. At first I thought I was doing that with AI, but then I realized that like AI is actually probably super dangerous. So, in a lot of the same ways that we're kind of slowly discovering the internet was dangerous for us in the 90s, right? That we, you know, we're starting to realize that like internet can cause like some serious addiction issues and things like that. It can really drive people into depression and self-harm. And those were things that they were kind of warning us about in the 90s at the very beginning of the internet. And now we're kind of getting those same warnings with AI, but we're also like, just keep marching, you know, so, but the actual topic that I meant to talk about, this is really going to be, like, I'm glad I talked about this being a zine, because this is literally how my zines get written. It's just stream of fucking consciousness. Another reason my channel will never be monetized. Anyway, so teams, right? So a few weeks ago, somebody had commented on one of the videos that I had posted. I think it was before the Palestine episode uploaded, and I had posted a video that showed kind of the IDF attacking, like hopping out of a car and attacking citizens, et cetera, et cetera. And the comment I had put was, you know, kind of sad how much this looks like the United States. And the comment that I had received, and like, I'll admit, it stuck in my craw for a little bit, and I got a little indignant and self-righteous and all of that bullshit. But I waited to respond until like I had figured out a constructive like conversation to have. Right. And like, I will absolutely do my best to do that with anybody that, you know, has opinion criticism with me. Like I want conversations. I want that. I don't want arguments. We don't need to fight. Right. But I do want conversation. Like I want to figure out like how we can have the talks without having the ad hominem. Right. So, and that's where it started, right? The ad hominem was your team is always whining and complaining. Right. And I thought to myself, I do have a voting pattern. I have voted largely either independent candidates, mostly in local elections, and Democrat candidates, mostly in national elections. Typically trying to vote for the party that seems to, at the very least, pay lip service to a lot of the beliefs I have. But I've only once felt motivated to campaign for a candidate, and that candidate being Jared Polis, I now regret, because a lot of the rhetoric that he was using during his campaign has not matched up with his actions, right? And I understand that that's an impossible metric. Like 100% of rhetoric translating to policy is like impossible. Oh, I have like a hair in my eye or something. But I think I should be able to hold you to some kind of standard. And there have been many situations, and I would really have to go back and dig deep into the research, you know, to find the specific instances again. But there were enough moments where I thought to myself, this is the opposite of what you said, and I don't appreciate that. And as a consequence, it really has soured me to his, you know, to his tenure as the governor of our state. It's really soured me to the party as a whole, like in the state setting. Like I'm already very soured on the Democratic Party on a national level, just because even when they are in power, they seem largely impotent of making any kind of policy movements. But the other team, like, says things that are like antithetical to like my personal belief system, like fairly regularly, right? Like not even as an atheist, a deconstructed Christian, like a card carrying member of the Satanic Temple, like not on those levels, like on as an American, right? Like my belief system as a citizen of this country, they say things that are antithetical to that, right? So as I've said before, like I don't really have a very specific party affiliation so much as I have voting patterns, right? But me personally, like I believe in a system that I feel is very espoused in the Constitution, that is very hands off of your individual choices, hands on for public service, right? So this idea that like my tax dollars should go to things that support people that can't support themselves, right? And thank you, government, for staying out of my decision to dress like however I want, or identify as a different gender, or have an abortion, or worship a different God, or not worship a God at all. That shit is nobody's business unless I want to share it. Right. And yeah, there's people that overshare. There's people that are overcommitted to telling you who they are. We have all told the joke about vegans and CrossFitters, right? How do you know a vegan's a vegan? They'll tell you, you know, yeah, those people exist. So what? Like, deal with it. Like, we all have to deal with obnoxious people all the time. But there's a line that is crossed, like in society, when you begin not just telling us your opinion, but telling us how to live, right? There are distinctions that I would make, right? Telling somebody, please refer to me like this, it's not telling somebody how to live. It's asking somebody to be polite. Like, when somebody mispronounces my last name, LLanas or LLanas, I correct them. And I would say like 90% of the time, they successfully change, right? And some people don't, and that's totally fine. Like, I had my name read into the city record yesterday for a resolution, and my name was mispronounced on the record like 6 times. So, you know, that shit happens. But that's not, like, asking somebody to be polite is not dictating your life, right? Telling you, let's use a liberal example, right? Instead of making it a teams thing. A transgender person telling you, please use the correct pronouns, is not somebody telling you how to live your life. A transgendered person telling you, you have to live the way your birth certificate says, even though I have been afforded the privilege of not doing that, right? That's different. That's someone telling you how to live your life. A transgendered person telling you, you have to change your gender. That's a transgendered person telling you how to live your life, right? Telling somebody, I don't think you should have an abortion because I think it's morally wrong. It hurts my heart. It goes against my beliefs. Is not telling someone how to live their life. Telling someone you will go to prison if you have an abortion is telling someone how to live their life. There's nuance. There's distinction between discussion and mandate, right? Between conversation and commandment, right? Neither team has a moral standing to tell me how to live my fucking life. Not a single one of them. Neither team, neither political party is free of chaos, is free of scandal, is free of pedophiles, is free of con men, is free of just all around stupid dirtbags, right? I could make you a list a mile long of Republicans. I can make you a list a mile long of Democrats. I could probably make you a list a quarter mile long just based on sheer numbers of Green Party candidates that are embroiled in some kind of investigation, sexual abuse scandal, monetary canoodling, whatever bullshit. Politicians that are currently in power, almost to a person, with like very, very few exceptions, are the team that everybody else unwittingly is pitted against. I don't hate Republicans because Republicans are going through the same bullshit I'm going through. I don't hate Democrats, even though I don't really dig their politicians, because most of them are going through the same bullshit I'm going through. I'm struggling with health insurance. I'm struggling with grocery prices. I'm struggling with the cost of gas. I had a giant fucking plumbing disaster in my basement. Fortunately, we already had plumbers coming to fix pipes in the basement this week, but I couldn't have, the fortunate situation is that we had talked with our friends to help us clean out the basement already, and then discovered that it was also flooded out, right? So if we didn't have our friends with us, we wouldn't have been able to fix the problem in a timely manner. If we didn't have our friends with us, we wouldn't have been able, like, it would have been an even bigger disaster, right? No politician stepped in to help me. No government fund is available for me to dip into to help my house. If I file an insurance claim about a plumbing problem, I will for sure see an increase in my insurance rates, even though that's the fucking point of insurance, is to protect you from financial loss, right? They're a team, and we are a team. They have chosen to go into a profession, into a field, into a life where they intentionally are deciding how we live our lives, right? We love to look back to the Constitution and say, okay, what should we be doing? What are the ins and outs? How do we live our lives, right? But there's 250 years of law, of rules, of regulations, of mandates, things that we have forgotten about. You see the silly video that's like 10 funny rules around the country. In Missouri, you can't kiss a man with a mustache, right? But that exists. And if the government chooses to act on it, they can, right? And if the government decides that it's important for them to find bearded men and jail them, they will. And who are bearded men? Oh, yeah, there's several out groups that actively have beards. That's so weird. Right? The state has a monopoly on legal violence. Like, that's how we structure governments, right? Is that the only organization that is allowed to legally, dispense violence, whether it just be physical or lethal, is the state, right? There are exceptions in our country. We have, castle doctrines and make your day laws and things like that. But for the vast majority, if you saw police behaving badly, like literally just beating a dude to death, the Rodney King situation before the advent of phones, and then you attacked those police, like, you would be liable for your violence, but they would not be liable for theirs, right? That is a very strong team, right? That holds the keys to all of the rules and regulations that we have to follow, that holds literally all of the power to commit violence against just people, humans. So when I see people bickering over party affiliations and social bullshit, like gay marriage or gay cakes, or, should black people have health care, or do brown people deserve to live in the country they've lived in for 15 years, or should, the Moms for Liberty be able to ban books because they say gay words, should gun owners have unfettered access to fully automatic weaponry, right? When I see us arguing over that stuff, I'm realizing that we've lost, right? Our team, the other team, the actual other team is split into 2 teams, right? And 4 teams and 8 teams and 12 teams and whatever thing you want to latch onto to separate yourself from your fellow person. And they've taught us that the power is in the separation, right? I believe it's the best trick liberals pulled, right? Is that they taught us that our power is in specific definitions of who we are and finding ways to differentiate ourselves from other people and separate ourselves, in a lot of ways. It's a mistake, right? The power is in the difference. Understanding who you are, very important. And helping people understand who you are, also very important. But separating and demanding, it only accomplishes separation, right? The less and less connected we are with each other, the more separate we are from each other, the less capable we are of actually affecting positive change in our communities. I think the strongest representation of that we saw was the ICE stuff in Minnesota, right? You can't have that many people marching in the streets in a city the size of Minnesota without covering a broad spectrum of of political thought, right? Because it stopped being about, am I right because I'm a Democrat or a Republican, and started being right because I was thinking about, is it good as a human for this to happen, right? And that is really, I think, fundamental to turning around like what is happening now. And I'm not talking about some like, you know, Marxist or socialist revolution. Like, while my personal beliefs like do skew in that direction in general, like, I would say that it's time to figure out something new. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how that works, but like really taking into account, like, how do we manage the needs of the people over the needs of the state, right? Because the state should function as a vehicle for helping people. That is my personal opinion. Again, and like, you can't fact check me on that because it's just my opinion. You can disagree though, and that's totally fine. I do want to talk a little bit about a book that I read quite a while ago, and I think I'm gonna pick it up again. It's called The Culture of Fear. It's by Barry Glassner. This book is really about how we're very afraid of like the wrong things, and that's kind of on both sides of the aisle. Instead of really thinking about like, so this week, you know, the United States jumped into a war with Iran, and like almost immediately there was a terrorist attack in Austin, or like an alleged terrorist attack. This is very early, like in that particular news cycle when I'm recording this, so I don't want to be too crazy about it and like just be like, oh, this is what it was, because I don't think that there's like a ton of answers to what actually happened in a situation until long, long after the fact. You know, as a history person, that's just how my brain works on these situations. But it is tragic, but statistically, it's extremely rare, right? It is nightmarish, terrifying, horrible, and doing exactly what it's intended to do, hurting a very, very small amount of people through a very, very small action to inflict maximum fear and chaos damage on a population. And we do that with a ton of stuff, right? We do that with crime all the time, where we talk about murder rates and crime rates and this and that. When over time, like statistically, crime has significantly lowered in the country. Like, and if I remember my statistics correctly, I do believe worldwide crime is like slowly dwindling, right? We don't have as many, like, we do see increases year over year in things like hate crimes and anti-Semitism. But in general, we typically see those numbers over distinct periods of time, like decades and things like that, going down. School shootings are terrifying and horrific, and they happen way, way too often. But statistically, they don't happen that often, right? Like, one a day is fucking insanely despicable that we allow this kind of like society to foment, right? But if you take the number of schools nationwide versus the number of school shootings that occur nationwide, it becomes like this statistical anomaly, right? There are a lot of people in the world, and there are a lot of good and bad things happening. We place our fear in things that are shocking, right? That things that grab us like really intentionally, and we let the media direct that fear a lot of the time, whether it be like things that you see on YouTube or the news. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, pretty much everything is like a partisan split at this point. Like, I'm going to be talking, the next episode is going to be a long form episode just called American Politics is Professional Wrestling. And in it, like, here's a quick preview. I'm going to talk about dirt sheets, right? Which are these like news organizations within the kind of confines of professional wrestling that are trying to get to the bottom of the truth of what's actually happening, right? Because the inner workings of professional wrestling are so opaque, right? We have those. Like right now on YouTube, you can go to the Midas Touch Network or you can go to Newsmax, and they will tell you whichever side of the story you want to tell, both of them desperately trying to get to the bottom of what is actually happening because the government's so opaque, right? And you can create two different stories out of the same information because the government's so opaque. They're preventing it. They don't want you to know, right? Our government is the team that opposes the population right now. I don't know if it's always been like that, but I know it is like that right now. I think in a lot of ways it has always been like that. I do see, that a lot of power was wielded financially and militarily to make the United States free itself, right, in a lot of ways, but it had to fight itself to make that happen. And a lot of people didn't want to go along for the ride. I don't know. Abandon your team, right? Like R, D, I, doesn't matter. None of that matters. Be a person. Be a human citizen. Be an American in the sense that you want to see your fellow American thrive. I don't mean prosper. I don't mean make money. I don't mean get rich. I mean thrive, right? What does that look like? What is better? What could be better? Stop thinking in your boxes, right? Stop thinking in your silos. Stop trying to explore the other side. Use your brain. You can do it. I believe in you. That inside you understand that serving your fellow man crosses all boundaries, right? I don't have to be a Christian to serve at a soup kitchen. I don't have to be an atheist to go help the homeless. I don't have to be a Hindu to go, mow lawns. I'm just trying to think of another service thing to do. Find opportunities to help people, and you might find that the people you thought you really disagreed with are your friends, right? I have a lot of friends with a lot of different perspectives, and I think that's good, right? We won't be saved by either team. Midterm elections aren't going to change anything that's happening, right? Because as soon as a different party's in power, they will find ways to either undermine the other party or undermine themselves, right? They will spin their wheels so that they keep getting that fat corporate cash and nothing changes, right? The only real changes that are going to happen is when we just stop thinking about them or caring what they tell us to do and just actively choosing to help the people in our own communities. Like, I don't care who or what you are. If you need help, I should just want to help you. I'm not always great at that. I'm not always good at separating the person from the problem, but I think it's really, really important that we drop a lot of the fear that we have of regular, everyday people trying to survive just as desperately as you are. No real need to fight over that. We're just all trying to make it. So, yeah, something to think about. That sounds like a good breaking point. I'll be back in a second. All right. So I didn't really have, I haven't really completed anything this week, as far as a book or movies or I haven't really just watched anything that grabbed me, except for the Traitors. We did watch Traitors, but I don't know that okay, briefly about Traitors. So, and not really about Traitors. So the American version of the Traitors, if for whatever reason you're an international watcher and you haven't really seen it, the players for the first 4 seasons have all been reality TV show people, whether they be Real Housewives, Survivor, stuff like that, Big Brother, Love Island, and then occasional, just different random comedians, people that are kind of internet famous. This season had Ron Funches, who like since At Midnight has been like genuinely, At Midnight was, After Midnight's the Taylor Tomlinson one. Sorry. But since At Midnight, I've been a huge fan of Ron Funches. Like he was one of the people that had gotten, at the time, this is in the long, long ago when Twitter was fun. They would do like a hashtag that everybody could riff off of the hashtag on Twitter, right? You know, you could put your own jokes out there and almost like play along with the people like playing the game. But Ron Funches like did so good at that he actually like won and like was able to get on the show. And I really think that helped launch his career. But like since then, I've been a really big fan of him. Like he's gone through a lot of really cool like transitions, like where he's changed his look very dramatically and like kind of changed his demeanor and his attitude, like in a really like, I think positive and mature way. You know, he is very open about like who he is, what he thinks, what he's interested in. Like he's a very good comedian. I highly recommend Ron Funches, but he did a brief, stand-up set, or I don't think I even got to see the whole set. I think I just got to see part of the set because it's on YouTube. But it was about his time in Taskmaster. And it was like one of those moments where I was like, oh yeah, like TV people like live in a very different like existence than I do, right? Like, you know I just talked about teams, and I do think that they are on the same team, and that like in a lot of ways, like celebrities and stuff, in spite of their wealth, are like very much so on the outside looking in too, like in a lot of ways. Like you can see it when like celebrities really cuddle up to politicians and like make a big stink and then like get totally screwed over. Like I'm definitely thinking of Nicki Minaj right now. or like Kevin Sorbo just getting like dunked on, you know, by like everybody around him, and then like fully ignored by the people that he got dunked on for. Like stuff like that is sad, right? And it happens on the other side. I just don't think I probably see it as much, just because of the way media loves to hide one half of the story from you. But his talk on there, talking about how he's interacting with these people that just seems so strange, right? And I feel like Ron Funches is very much, and a lot of stand-up comedians are very much like an everyday kind of dude who happened to be in entertainment. And it is just fun listening to his perspective. My favorite line, of course, being how he had to keep everything secret, right? Because they had filmed 6 months before the show even aired. And he says to himself, I have to keep it secret that Michael Rappaport doesn't eat like a human, that he just like inhales his food. And I thought that was funny. Michael Rappaport was hilarious on that season because he is exactly what you think he is, just like a dude screaming at you all the time. I don't know. It's just very funny. It's a very funny show. The next season has real people in it. I think it's going to be emotionally devastating because all of those people are actually going to probably need the money at the end. But I don't know. I hate that kind of a little bit. I think, yeah. Reality show contestants should get paid for their time. It's the unionist in me. So, that was pretty much the only like thing that I like fully ingested, but I have played like almost 85% of Spider-Man 2. I got put up on PlayStation Plus, and like I've been basically, instead of watching TV and reading and stuff like that, I have been participating in some Spider-Man 2. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, there's a mission where, a music museum in Harlem gets robbed, and you have to go get all the instruments, and you know it's your typical like open world quest where you go here, you fight those guys, you get item 1, you go here, you fight those guys, you get item 2, whatever. It's fun. Like the gameplay of Spider-Man is in general just fun enough that like even kind of like the boring mundane open world style stuff is very enjoyable. There's like giant like robot condors that you have to chase through the city, like in their, slipstreams, like super exciting and fun. Like I feel myself leaning, as I'm playing it, like back in the day when you're playing like Mario Kart or whatever. So like in general, the gameplay is really cool. And that's the most part of what keeps you engaged. The plot, very Spider-Man-y, you know, involves Venom, involves Kraven, you know, involves Mr. Negative. Like, you know, it's a whole mishmash of like, you know, kind of different Marvel storylines and tropes and stuff like that. And that's all well and good. You know, it's well tread territory. It's not like none of us have seen well, I mean, maybe some of you haven't, I don't know, but most of us have seen a Marvel movie. Most of us know kind of like the ebb and flow, you know, hero has bad time, sinks to bottom, rescue, blah, 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 fight the villain. So I'm at fight the villain phase right now in gameplay. I'll be done with it probably later this week, but when you're gathering all these items for the museum, you know, they're talking about the importance of like, you know, NPCs are talking about the importance of like certain items that you find. And like a lot of the people that they're talking about are real, right? Which is really cool. Like it's a way I think that Marvel, so I'm going to say a sentence that I don't mean across the board. I just mean in this very specific instance. I think in this specific instance, it's a way that Marvel like is better than DC in that they allowed themselves to use like real places, which allows them to partially ground themselves in reality. And like they've managed to create like a multiverse thing where like that is just a slightly different version of our universe, which is totally fine. And like DC chose to do it a different way, and I think with great success, right? Like DC and Metropolis like are, you know, they have a feel as though they were real places even though they're fictional. So like please don't come at me. I love both. Yeah, as a comic book nerd, I do love both sides. Like, I recognize that I think the choice to ground in the real world was a better decision. But that's neither here nor there. By doing that, you get to a scene at the end of the quest line where you get to go into the museum and explore it. And that's super fucking cool, right? There are exhibits, and when you go up to the exhibit, you know, there's an action button. It pulls up a picture of real people with real history, you know, talking about people like Langston Hughes and other, you know, other like Cole Parker and other people that are part of like the Harlem Renaissance and the jazz movement and all these other things. And then in the corner, there's also like, you know, a 1940s Avenger uniform, you know, I forget. What's crazy is like, I forget the context of that. I forget the context of the fiction, but I remember like you know, this piano belonged to a famous person from the Harlem Renaissance whose name fully escapes me. I'm really sorry. But like the Langston Hughes exhibit, I think was the best because it's like his desk and some of his clothes, but it has a readout of like one of his poems, right? So here's like this moment where like, as somebody that, you know, works in history and loves museums, et cetera, like, I'm like, yeah, we need to do more of that. Oh, and I understand not everybody will participate with that, but it's there, right? And it probably didn't take a whole ton of effort to make it happen. Like they created a room, right? Or like 2 big rooms in a video game, just like a secret area, just like an Easter egg, right? Like, I don't know how hard video game design is, right? But like things like that, where you can take the opportunity to like give people the chance to just like accidentally learn something, is really, really cool to me. And it's something that I really enjoyed about just like that moment in the Spider-Man game. And overall, the game itself has been very like, it's been very heartfelt. Like it's cliched because it's Spider-Man, right? Like there's not a whole lot more you can do with Spider-Man because it's already mostly been done. But the ideas and the themes about love and community and like working with each other instead of against each other, like they all hold true. Like, you know, I think a lot of my personal philosophy probably does come in some ways from comic books and aspiring to be like the heroes that I saw on those pages, and realizing that like even like a flawed anti-hero like Batman, his major impetus is to like protect his community, to help his community, to help those around him who can't help themselves, you know, and that's powerful shit, like in the long run. So I don't know, this is probably a really short segment, but I've been really loving Spider-Man 2. Like, if you have PlayStation Plus, which, you know, I watch enough YouTube to know that it's probably a ripoff and I can probably get it cheaper, but I also do just like the games. So, and it's sometimes a little more convenient for me to pay a monthly fee and have access to like a bunch of different stuff than like to buy like one big game at a time. And I usually do buy like 1 or 2 big games a year, but having a subscription service, I guess, works for me. Like I do just like that it could go away at any moment. And I have big thoughts about that. They'll probably make it into a different episode. I have talked about physical media already, though, quite a bit. So, oh no, that's about it. If you are a video game enjoyer, please go enjoy your Spider-Man 2. I'll be back with an interview with Mel LLanas, mostly about roller derby, talking a little bit.
I like yours.
Well, I know, but just because it's glowy doesn't mean it's better.
No, it does.
Well, I mean, aesthetically better.
Aesthetics.
Okay. That definitely is going to end up in...
No!
Anyway, hello, welcome back. I'm still Gabe, and this is still, if I hated you, you would know. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, so as I continue my mission to just like interview people and kind of talk to them about themselves, but like from them, right? It's not me like interviewing somebody about what I'm interested in them. It's about me finding my interest in them. That doesn't make sense, but that's okay. Rorschach is here on the table with us. He will make many appearances because I have already shoved him off the table 4 times, and it's close enough to their food time that they think this means they're getting fed.
It's an hour away.
Yeah. Close enough, right? Right. So, I had talked about this last week, but, we just didn't do it because I didn't want it to feel like a weird, stressful thing. But today, this is a big part of me wants to say Mel LLanas just to drive you crazy.
Stop it!
But anyway, this is Mel LLanas. Mel.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you today, Gabriel LLanas?
Right. So, like always, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi. I am Mel LLanas. I do not go by Melissa. Only my mother says that, and it's usually like this, Melissa, which means
I've heard it.
I'm in trouble. And that's a lot with her. About me, I'm a mom to 4 awesome kids. One is in the basement and will probably never clean their room. I am a bookkeeper, and I love spreadsheets and color coding spreadsheets, and spreadsheets are wonderful. And I am also very involved in roller derby. I am the head non-skating official, or head NSO, for Boulder County Roller Derby in Longmont, Colorado. I am on the Charters Committee for Junior Roller Derby Association. That would be Skittles and Burrito. I am also on the Stats Committee for JRDA, or Junior Roller Derby Association. And I just put on a new hat in January. I am the Northwest Regional Coordinator for the JRDA, which means I am the liaison between all the leagues in 9 different states and the JRDA Board of Directors. Mostly that consists of me listening to monthly meetings for the board and trying in desperate vain to get the leagues to communicate with me, which does not often happen.
It's funny because, like, when I talked about sitting down and talking with you, I talked about... Sorry, I'm just making sure it's still on. But I talked about how I was going to interview you about spreadsheets, and then you brought up spreadsheets, and that's very, very funny.
Love spreadsheets. That's why I'm on the Stats Committee. I get to do spreadsheets.
I won't make you talk about...
Nobody wants to hear about spreadsheets.
Here's the only question I would have. Are we an Excel or a Google Sheets person?
At work, we have Excel. I prefer Google Sheets.
Oh, I bet those are fighting words with some people.
Older people enjoy the Microsoft platform. And
so, like, people with their AARP cards?
Yes, Gabriel. People like me and people like you. That's right. I turned the big 5-0 on Sunday, and that's my cool claim to fame. I got an AARP card, and I got to sign somebody up for free, so I signed you up.
The best part about this video is going to be you getting upset with me for bringing that up later, and then also the cats just pranging out throughout this whole video.
I'm so used to this.
I know.
You didn't say Skittles was making an appearance.
Well, I mean, they all will. We have 3 cats.
We have 4 cats.
But one of them will not make an appearance.
She's under my bed.
She's hiding. So, roller derby, right? There's a lot of things in there to parse out for people that are unfamiliar.
Correct.
So, let's start with, okay. Good.
Skittles.
You just paused that. Nope, we're good. All right. Don't worry, that was just a little tap. It did not.
That was Skittles. Skittles sitting on the keyboard.
Let's start with. So you had mentioned that you are the head non-skating official for Boulder Roller Derby. So I guess the first thing that's probably the most basic thing to explain is how does like the structure of like kind of teams and like that work? Like, so how would people understand like you are part of Boulder County Roller Derby? Like, what is kind of the main like scheme for like how teams are created? So let's start there.
Sure. So we'll do it in like a tier. So Boulder County Roller Derby is a league. There are leagues worldwide. Most leagues consist of teams, and those teams, they usually have a sanctioning team. Sanctioning means that you skate for ranking elevation. For example, we have what's called our A team, so our stronger skaters, and that is the Flatiron Phoenixes. That would be one of my kids calling.
Jeez.
Which one is it?
Sophia.
Okay, I'll call her back.
All right.
Love you, Sophia. Sorry. And then we have our B team, the Boulder County Bolters, and those are people who aren't quite at the level of A team, but they're getting there. And then we have home teams, and home teams are comprised of all of the skaters, whether they're A and B. Our league in particular has 4 home teams. All of our home teams, 4 adult home teams, and then now 2 junior teams. All of our teams are named after cryptids. So the juniors, we have the Boulder County Devils, which is a raccoon with little horns. And now they just have a B team that just started this year called the Imps. And those are possums with little bat wings. And that possum's name is Ozzy. And the Boulder County Devils, the raccoon is Lucy, short for Lucifer.
What's Ozzy short for? Just kidding. Sorry.
I quit. No, I'm just kidding. And then the adults, we have the Boulder Creek Krakens. Go Krakens. We have the St. Vrain Swamp Monsters, the Purple People Eaters, and the High Peak Howlers. So you have teams. And then you also have officials. Not every league has dedicated officials. We are very fortunate that we do. I am, as I said, the head NSO, or head non-skating officials, which means I do not don skates. That would be a danger to myself and everybody around me. I would absolutely break a hip. My spine might realign itself. No, it wouldn't. Damn.
Having fallen down.
No, that's not how that works.
It did the opposite, to be honest with you.
Shucks. And then we have skating officials, or what people commonly refer to as refs. And our head skating official is my lovely Primeval. My derby name is Loud Llama, or Llama, because the loud is implied. We get cool names. We're like gang. Like the coolest gang.
I don't think that's how they come up with gang names, though.
Have you seen my jacket? It has patches.
I know, but like, I'm pretty sure gang names are not like, oh, what's something humorous and exciting about you? I think it's more like,
you don't know me.
You're the white guy in our gang. Or like, you murdered 3 guys with a hammer.
There's derby kids named Chewy. So you know.
That's fair.
Anyways, but officials are also part of leagues, and they're a pretty significant integral part, because you literally cannot have a game without officials. we all make sure that, penalties go into play because the first rule of roller derby is safety. It is a very physical, full contact sport. And there are rules in place to make sure that people do not get injured. Injuries do happen all the time. But we want to make sure that those are accidental and not something that is incited because of aggression or you're not playing right. Non-skating officials, we do all the paperwork, like spreadsheets.
Yeah. I knew this was going to largely be about spreadsheets. So.
What we call stats books, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They are stats. We have the rosters, and we see who jams the most, who blocks the most, what kind of penalties you get. Like, a lot of people always refer back to, well, how many penalties did I get? Well, what's the most penalty we got? It's usually a direction or a cut. And I know people out there who aren't familiar with derby are like, what the hell is a direction and a cut?
So, I don't think I've ever really thought about this too much, but so you're maintaining vast amounts of statistics, right?
Yes.
And they're going to a governing body, you had mentioned the JRDA, which is the Junior Roller Derby Association, which its name speaks for itself.
Right.
And then the one, and I'm familiar. I was a coach, so I'm gonna.
We were coaches together.
Yeah,
they hated us.
I'm gonna kind of reference and describe a couple things before I get into my question.
Sure.
So then there's WFDA,
right,
which is the Women's Flat Track Derby Association, because the kind of roller derby that you do is flat track as opposed to bank track. And
right.
I'll come back to that in a second. Then there's MRDA, which is Men's Roller Derby Association,
Correct.
Right? And so each of those, I assume, is maintaining banks of statistics,
absolutely,
based on what the players have done, et cetera, et cetera. So, like baseball, like football, you're maintaining this. Do you see, because the point of statistics is to make improvements, do you see teams that really engage heavily with their statistic collection, or is that kind of a component that's missing from a lot of roller derby?
I think more teams should. Yes, there are quite a few teams who do engage heavily with their statistics. I don't know that they necessarily always look at the stats books. I know that they rely a lot on video feedback, especially teams that are destined for playoffs and champs. Nate is a good example. Nate is a coach for Fort Collins Junior Roller Derby, and he does rely a lot on statistics.
Fuck off, cat. You can keep going.
There's a little spray bottle behind you. If you could please
weird,
grab that.
There'll be a weird edit where it just stops, and then you hear me go, God damn it, Skittles, as it starts right back up. I will maintain it so that I don't accidentally spray my computer.
That works for me. She's got her zoomies. But yeah, a lot of them, they look at, mostly they look at, there's tabs on the spreadsheets, and one of them, shut up. One of them is the game summary tab, and a lot of that is used for percentages. And who's, like I said earlier, who's blocked the most, who's jammed the most, who scored the most points. And they look at that to kind of see what their lineups are going to be. The other thing they really look at is penalties. Are we getting too many back blocks? Are we getting too many head blocks? I can tell you right now, for Boulder, their biggest thing is directions.
Right, which is a penalty that involves basically engaging in the opposite direction.
Correct.
Yeah. So, thinking about just kind of thinking about the global scope of roller derby. You had mentioned that there's playoffs and championship leagues and stuff like that.
Sure.
There's also not just a flat track derby association. There's bank track derby association. you know, in the broad scheme of things, like how many people do you think, and like this, obviously this is just like pulling a number
Sure.
out of nowhere, but how many people do you think maybe stateside or even globally are involved in roller derby, do you think?
Thousands.
Thousands.
Canada, United States, most of South America. There are teams in Europe. My dream is to go to Iceland, Australia. I don't know if there are teams in Asia or in... No, there are teams in Asia because we have Team Philippines. But I don't know that there's any African teams. That would be cool. But there are literally thousands of people between skaters and officials. I mean, like I said, it's worldwide and it's a big deal. If you're not really familiar with it, it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. I've never really thought about it. But in the Derbyverse, it's huge. So, and there are significant goals for a lot of people. There's the global champs. I think last year, Woofed Champs was in Australia. You know, we have junior champs. That's all over nationwide in America. And like I had mentioned before, my bucket list is Iceland. Iceland has some of the coolest teams, really knowledgeable officials. And if I were to cross that off my bucket list, that would be pretty amazing.
I mean, according to the Northmen, there are also Vikings fighting in front of volcanoes. So.
I don't think that happens in roller derby, but you never know.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be pretty great.
Yeah.
So, most people
With fire.
Most people our age have a conceptualization about roller derby that is based in Saturday morning post WWF like roller games.
Yeah.
Right.
The comeback in the 90s. Yeah.
Where it's like bank track. And so like to clarify, like, I'm comfortable clarifying this. Like,
Yeah.
flat track roller derby is played like on a track that's completely flat, so it
Right.
can just happen like on a gym floor,
Right.
As long as the gym is okay with the occasional scuff mark. But bank track is what you think of in the roller games, where like
Right.
the corners have these big banks so that you can come down, you know, go up and come down with like these crazy amount of speed.
Exactly.
You know, so most of us have seen a dude get like suplexed into the alligator pit or like tossed over the top.
No helmets, no
No
mouth
helmets, no
guards,
nothing.
chairs to the face. We don't do that on flat track.
So-
There are rules.
So explain to me, like, and you don't have to go too in depth with this, but like,
You don't want me to read the 90 pages rule
no,
book?
I don't need the 90 pages rule book, but like, in a basic sense, what is and isn't allowed in actual roller derby?
It's easier for me to tell you what's not allowed because I
Yeah.
know what the penalties are. You cannot hit people in specific target zones. You may not hit somebody in the back. That is a back block. You may not hit somebody in the back of the head. That is that's a head block. Or you may not billy goat. I call it billy goating, or charge somebody with your head. That is also a
Are
head
you
block or a high block. Really,
You guys ready for this? God damn it, Cody.
we're recording. Get out of here.
I'm trying to get water.
Two things. Do that and let the dog out.
Okay.
And also close that door. Oh, you want ice?
Oh my
Pre-K
God.
pause, guys. I'm being a mom.
Sorry.
Also, Cody,
Yeah?
if you want people to come over on Sunday, you
Go to
will
my room? Yeah, I know. That's the entire plan tomorrow. Blast my music and have you two gone.
and clean up dog poop in the yard. Please close that door. Let the dog out. Thank you. Bye.
Could you say it nicely, please?
Could you please let the dog out and close that door? Thank you. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Thanks, Callie.
Go. Get
Go.
out of here.
Go outside.
Go outside.
Mom, did you hear her?
What?
Say it again, Cookie.
I'm so happy I'm invited to your birthday party.
That's not what I heard. I heard you think I'm cringe.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
Is this recording?
Yeah.
God damn it.
I did say it.
Well, I mean, this is what life is.
Oh, I'll cut most of this out.
That's fine.
Maybe, if I remember that it's in here. The last one I forgot when I yelled at
Oh, who
Cody.
cares? People
So
think
there's
it's
like 2 minutes
enjoyable.
of me just being like, God damn it, Cody. Like, I'm trying to do shit. Maybe you could shut the door like Mom already asked you so I could keep doing the thing.
Yeah.
Whatever, Choppelganger. I said Choppelganger.
Try not to stomp anybody out.
I said protect your neck this morning. And I said Wu-Tang is for the children. And I think they were listening to the wrong part of Wu-Tang Clan. So, anyways, let's get back to what's
Okay.
allowed and what isn't allowed.
Yeah,
So
let me redo the question. 'Cause
Correct.
I'm going to have to cut that all out. So, just, you know, because we're so familiar, and like, I'm going to cut all. I hate when my brain starts thinking about the editing beforehand because then I second guess myself and do all these weird things. This will stay in. This moment will stay in.
Good.
Where I'm just like,
you
fuck
you
my
should just
brain.
keep all of it in.
My brain short circuits sometimes when I'm doing this. So we've already.
Did you take your meds?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just late in the day. So we talked about 90s roller games,
Alligator pits.
alligator pits. We're allowed to do that in roller derby? I get a suplex dude in the alligator pit?
Where's the bowl?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
We do not have alligator pits. You may not hit somebody in the face with a chair. Well,
I don't think you're allowed to do that in wrestling anymore either. They kind of are no headshots anymore.
I mean, look how dumb most of them are now.
That's not dumb. That's CTE. That's different.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
didn't start dumb. You made yourself.
Well, they don't have helmets. We do.
It's a start.
So, I can tell you right off the bat what you can't do, and it's the penalties. You can't hit anybody with your head. You can't charge people with your head. You can't hit people in specific target zones, like the back. You cannot trap people's legs. That's called pinning, or like trap people with your arms. So in Derby, you have what's called blockers. And you have 3 of those, and then a pivot who's also a blocker but can take the jammer star. That's complicated. I'll get into that later. Maybe. I don't know. Just come to a game. And the blockers have to release their arms if somebody's trying to come through. If their arms are interlocked and they're like basically pinning somebody back, that's called multiplayer block. So you can't do things like that. You can't kick people in the legs. Skittles. Oh God. What can you do? You can have fun. You can.
I hate fun.
I know. You can hit people in legally targeted zones. There are plenty of ways to play in a safe manner while politely bleeding the shit out of your friends. Realistically, Derby is a really good full contact sport for people who, a lot of people are outside the margins. We have people of a really diverse nature, and it's usually people who don't really feel like they could fit in standard sports, especially the juniors. These are kids who they don't want to do football or basketball or cheerleading or blah, blah, blah. They have a lot of pent-up aggression. A lot of them have so many kids on every team that I know that have so much anxiety. And this is a safe space for them to learn how to get all that aggression out in a safe way and build on self-motivation and endurance and teamwork and just growing as a human being. And that helps us with the adults too. There are women out there that are half my size that skate alongside with big ass men and just take them out because, and I'm going to say this straight to the camera, men, you have knees, they bend.
I love how, like, way inside roller derby that statement is, because, like, most people don't understand that, like, the physics of it or having your knees bent.
Right.
But, I mean,
to toss somebody off their center of gravity.
It translates across tons and tons of sports. But
sure.
Like, it's just funny. Like, so I've always felt like the culture of roller derby is very similar to like the culture of like skateboarding, where like it tends to attract like people that are maybe like outside the margins but still want to like participate in some kind of athletic endeavor.
I would agree.
I think the thing that has always fascinated me about roller derby is the age scope, right? Like they're like junior roller derby can start at age 7, just like, you know, Pop Warner football and things like that. But there's plenty of people that are skating like well into like their 50s and things like that.
I just saw an article the other day. There is a it's a lady. There's a lady who started skating at 48, and she has been skating for 14 years.
As someone who is 47, hard no.
Yeah, I'm like, you make my bones hurt.
Yeah, like that.
Just watching you.
Hurts me.
But it's for all ages, and it is for all shapes, all sizes, all economic backgrounds. No one cares about what your sexual orientation is. If they do, they should not be in this sport. Nobody cares about what your documented status is. I mean, if you want to get political about it, roller derby is a fairly social, left-leaning sport. It's very inclusive. I will put a caveat in that. It is diverse. We do have a lot of skaters of many different colors. And unfortunately, there is still a lot of... I'm trying to think of words that I guess are politically correct, but that's not really me. There's a lot of bullshit that still happens in the black community. There is a roller derby team called Black Diaspora. They are phenomenal. That's my ice machine. I'm so sorry.
I already talked about it.
They're a phenomenal team, and they got together because there was so much of this, we're inclusive, DEI. And then those skaters get singled out because they're too aggressive, or they're this, or they're that. We've actually changed rules in derby. We started it last year with the juniors, and now it's put in place with juniors. They're beta testing it this year to no longer call teams by color, but instead we have name cues because so many black players were wearing white or yellow or anything that isn't black and being called black.
Yeah.
And like, black is beautiful. That's great. But if that's not the color of your team, like, what does that say, you know? Yeah. So there's still a huge issue, especially in the black community. And I'm not a black person. I can't speak for them, but I will sure as hell stand up for them because they just kind of always get the short end of the stick. And it still continues today. People are taking bigger strides to curb that bullshit, but it still happens. And it needs to stop. So that's where I am on that. That's my soapbox.
So when you're thinking about like kind of just approaching like, you know, what you do, like, because you have a lot of titles. Like you work in the back end of roller derby a lot.
Yeah.
So you get to see like the events and you get to see like the excitement of that, but then you also get to see like the back end minutia of like stats keeping and like organizational and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? And like,
What do I think?
I hate all the animals in the whole world.
God damn it, dog. Stop it.
What do you think? What do you think derby could benefit from most to help it, like, just improve? Like, if there's one thing that you could, not even the most, but if there's like one small tweak that you could make that would improve either the back end or the front end or like their engagement with the public, like what thing do you think would help move the sport just in a positive direction almost unilaterally?
My knee-jerk reaction is to say communication. Communication on the back end, communication on the front end, communication of leagues with their regional coordinators, teams that are in the same regions communicating with one another. I really would like to see better bridges built between teams on different leagues. It's a competitive sport. But I really think that communicating with each other would be really good. If I dive deeper into that, and I know this is a pipe dream, and we had this conversation when we were watching the Olympics. Derby has high hopes of being a very recognized sport, like a professional sport. It is a volunteer sport. All leagues are 501c3s. It's nonprofit. It is, you pay to play. You buy your equipment. We have to pay the rent for whatever warehouse we can find or old rundown King Supers that we can find. It's not a cheap sport. It's expensive. Officials, we put in on a doubleheader day, we can put in 6 to 8 hours. If we're doing tournaments, we're putting in 14-hour days, 2 to 3 days. We have to pay for our own airline, hotel, food, our stopwatches or whistles, unless Prime buys them for you. Thank you, Prime. We pay for everything. And if Derby really wanted to really get recognized, don't be a nonprofit. Make it for profit. And I know that sucks, and a lot of people on the Derbyverse would be like, oh, llama. But officials would agree with me. Pay us. And giving us $20 for gas, that's great. But if you want us to come to tournaments and stuff, pay us. We want a legitimate stipend. If it's ever going to be professional, we get paid like professional officials, because the amount of time and effort and hours and money that we put in, and like you said, it's also in behind the scenes. You have officials who volunteer on committees to make sure your stats get done, to make sure your charters are right, to make sure that all this other stuff functions so that you can play.
Yeah.
And payment is not one of those things that is included. Yeah. Although I do like all my llama Band-Aids.
You do have a lot of llama Band-Aids.
So many llama Band-Aids.
So, kind of pulling it towards an end, like wrapping up with this.
Sure.
What do you think? Because Derby's been a lot of ups and downs for us, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, there's been some really high highs, some really low lows, like some really great moments, some really terrible moments. Like, I've seen my own children get injured, which is never cool.
No.
And an experience that a lot of parents share, because a lot of parents have kids that have played sports.
Sure.
Like, my parents got to watch me dislocate my elbow, you know?
Gross.
Yeah, it was really gross. But what keeps you coming back?
To Derby?
Yeah. No, to our house.
You. String cheese. No, I'm just kidding. What keeps me coming back to Derby?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you ask. I get burnt out a lot. How many times have you heard me say, I think this might be my last year. I think I might retire. You know, I need a break. Blah, blah, blah.
Every year since like 2020.
I believe I said at Christmas, I'm not going to travel this year. I will be going to Oregon for a Cascadian Clash in May.
That's why I always disagree with you, because I know it's going to change.
I know, I hear you. I hear that. What keeps me coming back? It's the people. It really, truly is. I have such an amazing Derby family. Oh my God, I'm going to get emotional. That's so weird. And it's not just officials; it's skaters. All the kids that either I've helped coach or I officiate with a lot. Blah, blah, those are my babies. And if somebody hurts my little baby llamas, I will cause them serious damage. I have so many friends I've made who are skaters, officials. You know, I've got my Derby wife, Zoo. And I have made some really deep connections with people. I think that's one of the reasons I travel. Like, I didn't go to Bloodfest this year in LA. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. LA. I didn't go to, thanks. I didn't go to LA this year, and I'm sad about that because I didn't get to see Flo Block, and I didn't get to see Vicky. And even though I talk to her every day, and, you know, like, I missed an opportunity last year to see officially Mel, and I didn't get to see a lot of people that I adore. And when you've been in it for as long as I have, and I've been in it for 8 years, you make really tight connections with people, and it goes beyond, oh, I just saw you at a game. Let's hang out and have dinner after the game. It's like these people are people I talk to on a daily basis. It's a family, and it's a weird family, and it's a crazy family, and just like any other family, boy, does it have some drama. But
intentionally avoiding all of that. Like,
it's hard. That's a hard thing to do.
I know.
But I
would steer you away from it if it was coming up.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to know about that because that's boring for
That's
people.
okay. That's why they have
That's
Derby
boring.
Hell,
That's
and
boring for me.
nobody wants to go on that. It is crazy and dramatic and chaotic, and I love every ounce of it, and I love the people who are in it, because that's what makes roller derby, is the people. They make it really special.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
It was exactly what I thought it would be. Just us laughing at stuff and talking about this.
So are you going to get me a goat for my birthday on Sunday?
Nope, sure not.
Come on, they say wolf.
Yeah, they say woof.
No.
No one
The
will
cops will not know.
No one will notice the goat.
We'll just dress it up like Loki. Go make me my dinner.
I think that's the perfect way to end this.
I love you.
All right, that was fun. Like, absolutely loved that. Love hanging out with my wife. I hope you guys learned some about roller derby. If you're interested in anything about roller derby, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help you get connected with your local team. It's roller derby, I think, is one of the most underrated, like, kind of club level sports in the United States. Like, there's definitely a lot of room for it to grow, a lot of room for it to professionalize, and a lot of room for it to get really, really big. And it's absolutely nothing like it was when we watched it in the 90s on television. Like, it's a very cool sport and very fun to watch. And I've had the opportunity to coach, and that was very fun too. So yeah, get involved in your local roller derby scene. It's good stuff for the most part. I mean, there's drama, but there's drama everywhere. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it. I think the theme of this episode is, Jerry Springer. Take care of yourself, take care of each other. But for real, like, find someone in your community and do it. Like, fuck what these guys say. Fuck what a politician tells you. Like, the government's not in control of you. Find a problem, fix it. Be an anarchist filling potholes. Be a Republican in a soup kitchen. Be a liberal, like, donating clothes or something. I don't know. Like, figure it out. Only we can save us. So, yeah, I guess until next time, like, I'm not a very interesting guy. I'm just really interested in interesting things. And if I hated you, you would know.